I love dystopian and apocalyptic fiction. There's a ton of good stuff written on the subject matter in book format. Unfortunately, a lot of it does not get made into movies and television shows. And the problem is twofold. Number one, it's a niche genre and it doesn't appeal to a lot of people. And the other problem is if it does get made into a movie, because a lot of people don't like it, it's usually done on a very low budget and it's not well written, doesn't have big, good, experienced actors in it. And they just tend to not be very good. So naturally, when I saw the trailer for the upcoming movie Civil War, I was like, oh, cool. And I watched it. One of the links after I watched the trailer was of a guy giving a reaction video about the trailer. Well, I wasn't impressed. And I thought, instead of complaining, I'll just make my own. And because I've already watched the trailer, it would be more of a breakdown / recounting of my initial reactions on the trailer versus a genuine reaction video. So I set about starting to put one together. Well, shortly after I decided to do this and was working on it, Local Prepper announced that he was going to do a live stream on the movie trailer. And I was like, so I needed to get one out before his live stream because I want to watch his video. And I didn't want that video, that live stream tainting what I would say about the movie and, tainting my reactions. So I'm going to do one and get it up before his live stream goes live this morning. And then after his live stream runs, I'm going to link it to the end of this video so that you guys can go watch it and see his take on it too. So if you've got the time, let's do a breakdown / reaction on the movie trailer for Civil War. Okay, let's get this down here. And okay, so the trailer runs about 2 minutes and 23 seconds. And let's get into it.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
Okay, let's stop right there. Opening scene on the movie on the trailer is a voiceover saying that 19 states have seceded and that warnings were given out to states that had seceded. And we see a white SUV moving through what appears to be a bunch of wrecked and blown up vehicles. So this tells us that the event has already taken place. All right. So we don't get any idea of exactly why it happened from the beginning of the trailer.
President assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out with what we see on the news.
Okay, so the next portion of this trailer, they talk about a 3-term president. After FDR was president, they passed a rule that you can only serve 2 terms in the presidency. So that tells me that the government has been taken over by somebody who is not following the rules. All right. So that may be some explanation as to why these 19 states have seceded. And they talked about the Western forces and the Florida forces. So that tells me that there's 2 blocks of states that have seceded and are going against the government. Okay. And then they do the scene with them going into the store and the guy confronting the store clerk saying, there's a civil war going on and it's across the entire United States. So we know that it's engulfed the entire nation. And I like the clerk's response. She goes, she says, well, we try not to get involved after watching the media. We think it's best. And then they show the people driving by what appear to be refugees. And I think if something like this were to happen in real life, that you're going to find a lot of people taking that stance. It's estimated that only 3% of the people in the colonies took direct action in the revolution against the king, and roughly the same amount supported the king directly. That means that there was a huge swath of people that they may have supported one side or the other, but they tried to stay out of it because they knew that if they took sides, that they would become targets. And especially in today's day and age in our country with our culture, people do not want to be inconvenienced. They do not want the hassle. So I think you're gonna see, if something like this kicks off in real life, that this is going to be the case. All right, let's get back to the trailer.
Seems like it's for the best.
Okay, let's reaction. All right, so we saw some military action there, and it looked like there were military people firing weapons, and then we saw who appeared to be a civilian being dragged off, and then we get to see the main character, Kirsten Dunst. She's the main actress in the movie, and we see her taking a picture. Then it goes to the shows who produced it, A24, who made they make smaller, semi-independent films, and they made some pretty good ones. They show it here in a bit, some of the movies and who the writer is. But you'll notice this flag here. Here, let's play a little bit so we get a better picture.
Citizens of America.
So somebody created a new flag, and it had 2 stars and the 13 stripes. And then we go to this scene, and it's just a regular city scene. But if you look right up here, it's New York City, and you can see there's smoke coming up here, and it looks like down in here that there may be some too. So that tells me something's going on, and we get a voiceover. So let's listen to the voiceover.
The so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Okay, so this apparently is the 3-term president that they talked about, and he's talking about the Western forces of Texas and California, which I find very interesting, because a lot of us today view California as a lost cause, as a very liberal state. And yes, the government of California is extremely liberal. You take away the big blue dots in California, and you have a very conservative state, one that's people that are very patriotic and are not liberal at all. So if we look at the screen here, we can see they've got a reflection of the map here. So they said 19 states have seceded, and so we've got the state of California, and we've got Texas. So apparently they have joined forces. And then we've got these other states here that are a darker shade, the Western and Deep South. And then we've got New England, across the Ohio River Valley, and down through down into New Mexico, Arizona area. And then we've got what looks like parts of Alaska Alaska's broken apart into 2 sections. It says that the voiceover, the president says that they've been dealt a great defeat by the U.S. military. So that tells me that this block of states have come together and seceded from the Union because of whatever's gone on, and they are fighting directly with the United States military. All right. So there's the writer had written 28 Days Later, which is a great zombie movie, Ex Machina and Annihilation, which were both pretty decent movies too.
President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
We're moving to DC today.
You need to go down there.
Okay, so we have somebody asking the question that it's obviously not to the president, because the guy sitting in the SUV, which is probably the same SUV that we saw at the beginning of the trailer, but he's asking the president if he regrets using airstrikes against American citizens. Then they show people running in fear and jets coming over and an explosion. So we can only assume that that is the airstrikes he's talking about. Now, I'm gonna say this from experience with movies like, or trailers like this. It's probably not the case. They probably patched together different scenes to create the visuals that the airstrikes were taking place, because that was either a very poorly done special effects or very low budget, because that did not look like an aerial bomb going off. They look completely different. Okay, so let's get back to the trailer. And then we see you see Kirsten Dunst and some of the other main characters. There's the guy that made the comment, making the question to the president. Kirsten Dunst apparently is a journalist, a photographer.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death. Blooded.
Okay, so they talk about going to DC and how dangerous it is, and they show a sniper that was over the skyline of New York City, not DC, and then they showed a what looked like a Warzone type of area with broken down military trucks. I think this is going to be the main quest. I think they're gonna do the setup, and then the main story arc in the movie is going to be them going into this dangerous area in Washington, DC, and trying to document what's going on. All right. Hope you guys are still with me. This is actually kind of fun.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
All right. So we get a voiceover from the main character talking. So she is a journalist. We find that out, that she is a journalist, and she's been to various war zones, and she feels like she was trying to warn people about the dangers of civil wars and things like that. And you can tell that there's a lot of frustration in her voice, and I can empathize with that. And I think there's a lot of people in the country nowadays, a lot of combat veterans, a lot of prepper type people and patriots, and a lot of people that just understand that if we continue down a track that leads us to this place, that it's not going to be good. And it's gotten to the point now that a lot of people, myself included, are beginning to feel that there may be no alternative, that there are forces in this country and people in this country and the political class that do not care. All right. So yeah, I can see the frustration coming from this. Now here, this next part is probably my favorite part of the trailer.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? We're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you?
Okay. First off, this guy's name is Jesse Plessum, and I know this because one of my coworkers clued me into it. He is Kirsten Dunst's husband, and he plays fantastic psychopaths, and the look on his face and the way he delivers the line, "What type of American are you?" is as creepy as it is intriguing, if you will, for lack of a better word. Okay, so we can tell by looking at him that he is most likely not a military person. He may be a vet, but we can tell by his uniform and the fact that he's wearing the sunglasses, he doesn't have any kit on him, that he is most likely a militia person. And he asked the question, what kind of American are you? And this goes back to the video that I did about there being two Americas, the people that believe in the Constitution and the people that believe that the Constitution is outdated and they want to replace it with socialism. And there are a lot of people in this country that feel that their fellow citizens are not their allies and they are actually the enemy. And I'm not going to lie, there's times that I feel like that too. But he asked the questions, what kind of American are you? And we can only imagine what comes after this.
You don't know?
Okay. And we could see from the tail end of that here. Let me go back just a little bit. Let me take it back just a little bit. Okay. Well, it's hard to get it to stop on that screen, but we can see that there were actually two people there with ARs, and they were holding these people at gunpoint, and there was some sort of confrontation going on. You know, I think if something like this does pop off because of the Patriot Movement and the fact there's so many veterans and people creating unorganized militias, if you will, you know, very loose confederations of friends that get together and do training and all are like-minded, I think you are probably going to see this pop up. Historically, it does happen, especially where guns are readily available. Groups of people that are paramilitary, they're not part of the formal military, join together. And these are the ones that you see that do most of the war crime type of stuff, if you want to call it that. And in America, we've got paramilitary people on both sides of the equation, and they are both extremely well armed and they are both extremely well trained. And if you are one of those people that think that the left is just going to fold if something like this happens, you need to think twice. Go back and look at the evolution of the type of security that Antifa has at their rallies and the type of people that are starting to confront patriots that are showing up to the rallies armed, and you'll see that they are getting formal training and they are becoming more organized.
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
Move, move, move!
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
Okay, so we saw the flashcards that say all empires must fall. We hear that the Western forces are advancing on Washington, D.C. I'm not going to lie, the on July 4th was a bit cringy for me. I'm not going to lie. I was like, oh my gosh, so stereotypical of a low budget movie. But I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide. We see military equipment on the move. Then we hear the voiceover from the main character where she says that somebody tells her that they need to hang back instead of going to DC. She says, no, I need to go. She wants to go to where the story is. So again, that reinforces my idea that the story arc or the quest is going to be going to DC. And then we see them moving through fires, and we see military people advancing and looks like what's fighting going on in DC. Okay. Now we've got the president. And I think it's kind of cool that Ron Swanson got elected president and becomes a dictator. I'm not going to lie.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, then we've got the Pledge of Allegiance there, spoken by by the president. We see a battle going on. We see them making it into what appears to be the White House press room. So apparently they've made it into the White House. They're in D.C. Then we see a helicopter, looks like an Apache. Well, it is an Apache. I can tell by the landing gear, flying over the Jefferson Memorial. All right, let's watch a little bit more of it. Washington Memorial. Okay, now let's back up just a second. Let's watch this little part again. Let's watch this little part again. If I can get the mouse to cooperate. So here it is. Now watch right up here. You see explosion. You see coming up there. You get the title card. Civil War. Spring of 2024. Somebody told me that it's coming out in April. Here, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing that screen and come back full screen. Coming out in April. Okay. Like I said, I love dystopian and apocalyptic movies, and I really want this to be a good movie. Unfortunately, as I was watching it initially, all I could think of was the movie Bushwick, which was a movie from like 2015. Dave Bautista was in it, and it was the most asinine movie I'd ever watched. It was almost insurgents from Texas invaded New York City and were committing terroristic acts against the population of New York City, and it was nothing but leftist propaganda direct. Oops, sorry about that, knocking the table. Like I said, borderline unwatchable. And then the other one that popped in my head was the TV series Jericho. And Jericho had a great premise, and it started off pretty decent, but it became quickly evident to me that the writers of Jericho and the people making Jericho were Blue Coast liberals that had no idea how people in flyover country think, and would most likely behave in a situation like what the story behind Jericho was, which was that, and it became obvious that they had no clue how the real world operates outside of their bubble. They made this complete caricature of it. And again, it got to the point where I could not watch Jericho because it was so bad. Could not suspend disbelief. I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. This movie looks like it's got a lot of promise. Looks like it's got a little bit of action in it. Looks like it's got some drama. The story from the trailer seems rather compelling. I mean, we've got 19 states seceding from the Union. We've got a president that's serving 3 terms against the rules of the Constitution. We've got civilians fighting military. We've got what a divided country, and we've got the apathetic people, or not apathetic's not the right word. We got the people in the middle that don't want to get involved. They want to be on the winning side, so they're not going to get involved and they're not going to commit. So it looks like it's going to be, I hope, a very good movie. I'm not going to hold my breath though. If I find it disappointing, I'm not going to be shocked. Let's just put it like that. Well, listen, I hope that you found this entertaining. I hope it gives you some thoughts to ponder over in regards to what the movie's about and some of the underlying themes are, because they do affect us directly in the real world. Some of the things that they talked about in the trailer could affect us in the real world. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. You know, I got some good homesteading content coming out. Got some more preparation, preparedness videos coming out, and we would really like you to come on the journey towards a life done free with us. All right, take care. Thanks, Milo.